The Tampa Bay Lightning suit up against the Florida Panthers for the third time in the preseason. Could it be the first time we see Jake Guentzel find the back of the net as a member of the Lightning? We'll talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to Locked On Lightning. Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, this is the show for you. Josh Sperber here, first wanting to continue and shout out the Tampa Bay Lightning for their support of the surrounding Tampa Bay community during the aftermath of the devastating Hurricane Helene. The Lightning Foundation, various players on the Tampa Bay Lightning, as well as members of the ownership group and front office, have been so active in the community. And it's just really great to see the Tampa Bay Lightning really emerging as community leaders during a difficult time. And I just want to make sure that to extend my best wishes out to all the viewers who've been affected by Hurricane Helene. It is truly a difficult time for the Tampa Bay community. But I know that as a group, we will get through it and get through it stronger. The Tampa Bay Lightning are hoping to have that similar MO on the ice, getting through a preseason stronger after a tough offseason. Saw the departure of one of the franchise icons. And Victor Hedman is now the new captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning. The preseason has been a bit of a mixed bag for Tampa Bay. A couple of close wins. They had a blowout loss. And their last game against the Florida Panthers was one of their most complete games of the entire preseason. That's something that we discussed over the course of this week. Tampa ending off September on a high note, surrendering a power play goal in a 3-1 win. Once again, the Tampa Bay Lightning play host now to the Florida Panthers, taking on the defending champions in the preseason for the third time so far. It was an 8-7 win at a neutral site. Tampa got the road win 3-1 in the two games in September. So the Lightning have outscored the Florida Panthers 11-8 in the first two games of the postseason that they have played against their rival and the defending Stanley Cup champions. But it does beg the question, when will Jake Guentzel be the one to find the back of the net? Guentzel had a couple of really good opportunities in the last preseason game against the Panthers, his first action against one of the Tampa Bay Lightning's chief rivals, but he did not end up getting on the score sheet in that contest. And of course, he's still looking to make his regular season debut. There is going to be an expected amount of rust, really, for a guy who has been moved to two different teams over the course of this season. So you'd obviously expect Guentzel to still be kind of getting used to the Tampa Bay Lightning's flow of offense, but all camp, John Cooper, some of the Lightning's assistant coaches, players have been praising Guentzel for his ability to adapt really well in the Lightning locker room. You see him on the ice with the guys, and it really doesn't seem like he is the new man on campus. And, you know, a guy who is facing a lot of pressure, though. That is something that is on the menu for Jake Guentzel, unfortunately, over the course of this spring training. I mean, that is to be expected. He is the biggest name player the Lightning have required. A day after he was signed, Guentzel was awarded a 7-year contract worth upwards of $80 million. So high expectations come onto that plate. And it is obviously more meaningful if and when Guentzel will get his points for the Lightning in the regular season, goals and assists, just contributing to that Tampa Bay offense as he was brought here to do, be one of the chief contributors for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But it would still be very meaningful for Jake Guentzel, and it would be a huge, huge boost for the team if Jake Guentzel could find the net on Wednesday against the Florida Panthers for a whole lot of reasons. Now, some of you guys might just be laughing this off, and it's just, me, this big Lightning fan, talking about how he wants to see the big heavy hitters score and get things done during preseason. And part of that might be true. I am certainly a man guilty of demeaning the importance of preseason to a team in any sport. But I think that the stakes for the Tampa Bay Lightning are just in a kind of confusing place. The expectations for this team aren't huge in terms of what they've lost and the amount of roster turnover that they've had over the course of the offseason. But sometimes lower expectations can bring out the best in teams with a lot of veterans, teams who have really been through the ringer over the course of any NHL cycle. And that is certainly the case for the Tampa Bay Lightning. In terms of the guys they have on the team, in terms of the roster that they have now, you might not look at it and say, wow, this Tampa Bay Lightning team is going to be legendary. They can break so many different records, maybe even get another Stanley Cup. But this fan base, I'm sure you guys will agree, now is just kind of grown accustomed to winning ways of the Tampa Bay Lightning. The fans expect this team to be a playoff team. I certainly do after the last couple of years. And, no team can make the playoffs every single year. I mean, that is a feat that has not been accomplished in any sport. It's just not an easy thing to do. But with the success the Lightning have had recently, you just want to see more. And Jake Guentzel is someone who could be that extra piece, that little bit more, because this is really his first chance to be that guy. We've talked about throughout the couple of weeks since I have been a part of Locked On Lightning, we've talked about the fact that Guentzel has been really well described by his coaches. He's held in high regard by the players that he's played with and the coaches that he has played for. And he has been on some lines with some elite players in the Carolina Hurricanes and most notably the Pittsburgh Panthers with Malkin and Crosby. He has been a complimentary piece before. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think with that contract really showed that they're looking for Guentzel to be more than just a complimentary piece. I'm not trying to say he's going to take over the role as the man on the Tampa Bay Lightning offense. That role is squarely in Nikita Kucherov's gloves, which we'll talk about in the next segment when I discuss which Lightning players I think have the chance to win some of the individual awards around the NHL. And you got to have Nikita Kucherov on that list. But Jake Guentzel is a guy who I might be talking about in that next segment because he's someone that is somewhat of a question mark. He has, in last year, Nikita Kucherov was the best passer in the NHL, period. 100 assists. I mean, no one passed the puck better than Nikita Kucherov in the 2023-24 NHL season. You've got that guy as really just an ideal point guard on your line. Braden Point, who surpassed both Kucherov and Steven Stamkos, one of the most legendary goal scorers the Tampa Bay Lightning has ever seen put on their jersey. Point still had more goals than both of them last year with 46, to go with 44 assists for his third career 90-plus point season. He's another guy who I've already talked about over the course of this podcast as someone who I think can really break out and become more of a household name for the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think Jake Guentzel is really the key to unlocking that line because you had 3 40-goal scorers on a line. That is just an incredible feat. And I really think that you have the chance to get not just 3 40-goal scorers, but 3 guys on that number one forward line that can each get upwards of 90 points. I almost expect Nikita Kucherov to get another year full of triple-digit points. Braden Point might be able to add to his scoring tally, and Guentzel might as well. And I think both of those guys are going to benefit greatly from Nikita Kucherov's leadership on this Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think a big start towards that, a big start towards just some eye-popping success that I can envision on that Tampa Bay Lightning first line with 3 players that I can easily see as all-stars and 3 players who I think have elite scoring and really any kind of goal-creating talent on that Lightning first line with Kucherov, Point, and Jake Gensel. But the new guy has to buy into the system. So really the onus is on Jake Gensel to kick it up a notch as he starts his journey with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this is likely going to be his first home game tonight at 7 o'clock against the Florida Panthers. Likely the first time that Jake Gensel will suit up inside Amalie Arena, go toe-to-toe, skate-to-skate against a rival player, which is just icing on the cake, but most importantly, at Amalie Arena. And I think there would be nothing better to show the Lightning fans, preseason or not, regardless if the goals count on the official tally or not. I think that the best thing that can happen for the Tampa Bay Lightning in Wednesday's game against the Panthers is for Jake Gensel to score a goal. And hopefully he will get that done at Amalie Arena as the Lightning look to make it 3 wins over Florida in the preseason. After a quick word from our sponsors, we'll talk maybe a little bit more about Jake Gensel and which other members of the Tampa Bay Lightning might have a shot to bring home some individual hardware in the upcoming season. Now, one thing I like to do in my spare time is go to live events. And whenever I look to get tickets, I look on Gametime. No matter how much you love going to live events, it's not always easy to find the right site, to find the right deal. But Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes all of that easier. Getting tickets for your favorite live events becomes even easier with the Gametime app. On Gametime Picks, it filters out the fluff, and you only see the best possible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets just to try and get a seat at your favorite stadium, like maybe Amalie Arena, for an example. There are just incredible deals on Gametime Picks. I mean, I'm seeing what looks like $10 a game less than any other ticket site. I mean, you always get the best prices. You can get the view from your seat, customize where you're going to be sitting, not just because of where it looks in kind of the drawing, but you can kind of see that there's a seat view app that you can check the view from your seat that looks so much more real than you'll see anywhere else online. And if you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime by downloading the Gametime app, creating an account, and using the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but make an account and create and use the code LOCKEDONNHL, capital LOCKED, capital ON, capital NHL, for $20 off. So download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. So the Lightning had an early practice today, did some workout in the community. Just can't say enough how much I love seeing what the Lightning have done for the community in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. But the NHL season is just around a corner. 9 days now separate where we are from the Lightning's opener and 10 days from the home opener against the Hurricanes on October 12th. And it might be a little bit early to start thinking about some individual awards, but the Art Ross Trophy last year went to Nikita Kucherov, and there could be more Lightning players, Kucherov included, that have a shot at coming home with some awards. There were plenty of people, including myself, that thought Nikita Kucherov was well suited for the Hart Trophy. And I think it is certainly something that he could take home this year. I mentioned in another episode earlier that Nikita Kucherov is really developed into the quarterback of the Lightning offense. Assistant coach Jeff Halpern was very complimentary of Nikita Kucherov, particularly with the power plays, about how much more active he has been with the Lightning coaching staff this offseason. He is really taking initiative and thrusting himself in a large role in the Lightning offense, not just on the ice, but off the ice in terms of creating the strategy for the power play. These are the kind of things that Nikita Kucherov has quite literally been pestering the coaching staff. They've set aside extra practice time per Nikita's repeated requests to try and get more time on that power play, as that is always a key component of a successful offense. John Cooper, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Lightning, even said that usually the teams that are most successful in the NHL are teams that have the most success on the power play. And his goal for Tampa is to be one of the top 5 power play teams in the NHL this season. And the way Nikita Kucherov has been speaking with the coaches and really being active in getting that strategy forward, that is something that really makes me open my eyes. And an assistant captain or not, Kucherov is going above and beyond in terms of leadership. And I really think that could pay out. If any Lightning player is going to win the Hart Memorial Trophy, I think it's going to be Nikita Kucherov, certainly going to be in the running for that one. And I don't think the Lightning will have a Calder Trophy winner this year, though, depending on how much they put Connor Geekie on the ice with the NHL club, he is certainly going to be a front runner for the Calder Trophy when he is eligible as a rookie. That might not be this season, but that's something to keep an eye on, as Geekie's certainly the most promising young member of the Tampa Bay Lightning organization, and that has been shown repeatedly over the course of the preseason. Andrei Vasilevskiy is always someone who I think is going to be up for the Vezina Trophy. Always been one of my favorite players on the Lightning. Crucial goalie play from him in those Stanley Cup runs, and he is certainly going to be in the run for a Vezina Trophy. The Lightning's success, I talked about in yesterday's episode, how the defense is really crucial to that Lightning success. That includes Vasilevskiy. I hope I wasn't trying to muddle that a little bit, because there's just so much turnover going on with the Lightning defense. There's some questions with the loss of Mikhail Sergachev and replaced by J.J. Moser. But Vasilevskiy still has to be the anchor in the net for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I think a successful season for Tampa, 100 plus, if the Lightning get 100 points or over this season, I think Andrei Vasilevskiy is going to have a Vezina winning season, because the goalie, in my opinion, is always the most important player on the ice. You can't win games if you let in a ton of goals. And Andrei Vasilevskiy has made clutch saves time and time again for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So for the Lightning to really exceed expectations and get back to, high levels of hockey, maybe even challenge for the division this year, Andrei Vasilevskiy has to have an exceptional season, and exceptional seasons get individual awards. So he is certainly a guy who I think can win the Vezina Trophy this season. I don't know if Hedman can win the James Norris Trophy. There are so many good defenders in the NHL, but it would be a pretty storybook start for Victor Hedman to make a baseball reference, because it is October. It would be kind of like the whole Bryce Harper leaving for the Phillies and then the Nationals winning the World Series the year that he left for the Philadelphia Phillies. That would be a really storybook season for Victor Hedman. Obviously, he's one of the better defenders in the NHL. I think that a James Norris season is certainly possible, but I mean, there's so many young defenders that might just need bigger roles. And the Tampa Bay Lightning offense is certainly not where they're lacking. They have so much depth in the forward position. So the whole all-around aspect of the Norris might not be there for Hedman this season, but that's certainly someone who is a potential to win that award. And then Art Ross and the Frank Selke Trophy are awards that could go to Nikita Kucherov. I thought he could have won the Art Ross Trophy last year. And the kind of player he is, especially the extra work that he's seemingly been putting in the offseason, I could see just another big breakout season for Nikita Kucherov, taking home the Art Ross Trophy as kind of revenge for not putting it in his trophy cabinet last year. And I'd really like to see Jake Gensel challenge for the Frank Selke Award. Again, that's kind of best case scenario for the Lightning as well. But I mean, that would just be massive for the franchise. But again, Nikita Kucherov, really any offensive award, he's the guy that I think could challenge for that. I don't think, though, I think the Lightning have too much depth to look at a Rocket Richard kind of guy. Braden Point is someone I think would have the best shot at that for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He really broke out with his career best 46 goals in last season. And I think without Stamkos, he might be set up for even more goals. Had nothing to do with Jake Gensel, but just because of the increased familiarity that he already has with Nikita Kucherov. And one last award. Again, the William Jennings Trophy might be something on best case scenario for Vasilevsky, but any goaltender award, he's got to be up for it. Just like any forward award, Nikita Kucherov has to be up for it. The Willie O'Ree Community Hero Award, I'd really like to see go to a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning, just because, or a member of the Carolina Hurricanes, just anyone who is in the city of one of the teams that got hit by Hurricane Helene. And I really think that some of the things the Tampa Bay Lightning have already started to do to try and assist the community in the aftermath of Helene, I really think you got to put Victor Hedman already as top of the list for the Willie O'Ree Trophy. Before the season even started, less than a week after he was named captain, he donated $150,000 to charities supporting the recovery of the Tampa Bay community after Hurricane Helene. I think that's a great start. And given the kind of person that Victor Hedman and his wife are, I mean, both of them clearly with exemplary character, I really think that they're not done. So I'd really like to see that award go to a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. But this next segment, we're going to talk more about the Syracuse Crunch, because there are still some young guys up and coming in the Tampa Bay Lightning system, some that were already cut from the spring training roster and will start the season with Syracuse. Which member of the Syracuse Crunch might make a big impact for the Lightning in 2024 or 2025? You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you make your bets. Now, I'm not a huge bettor myself, but FanDuel really just seems like the place to go. All the information that you could possibly need to try and see where your money would be best spent on a bet is right in front of you on FanDuel. It's so easy to use, and really, I think the best place to go in terms of bets. And you'll especially think that when you hear what they're prepared to offer you. $200 guaranteed in bonus bets when you place your first bet of only $5. So pay $5, get $200 of bets more for free. Just imagine what you could win off of that. That is FanDuel.com, and we'll have NHL odds for FanDuel when the season begins in a couple of weeks. Josh Sperber here, and to the final segment today of Locked On Lightning, talking about some of the roster cuts that may return and make a big impact. Now, there are still some guys on this Lightning team, still 12 players that need to be shaved off of the Lightning roster in the next 10 days, or the next 9 days before the season opener, 10 days before the home opener. And there was already a couple surprise cuts when we discussed the roster cuts last week. Jaden Dureau was, for me, the biggest surprise on that list. Now, I know there's a lot of forward depth on the Lightning. They're certainly, especially when it comes to prospects, deepest on the offensive side of the puck. But Jaden Dureau, in the one preseason game that he got action in, game number 2, he had 3 assists against the Panthers. Now, they were playing some of the Florida Panthers prospects, so maybe that says more about them. But 3 assists in one game, 3 points of any kind in one game, no matter how big of a goal fest that 8-7 win was, Jaden DeRoe was one of the key factors for the Lightning in winning that game. And, with some guys coming off of the injury list, Michael Eyssimont, Luke Glendening are two guys that you'd expect to factor in to Tampa Bay Lightning lines once they're healthy. But there still has to be room for guys that can create chances like Jaden DeRoe does. Lucas Edmonds was a guy who was very involved. Dylan Duke, someone else who really seems like is shaping up like a solid two-way forward and a nice physical player and able to muscle his way in for some points close to the crease as well. Nico Huhtinen is someone that the Lightning are very excited about, but one of the biggest surprises, in my opinion, was Lucas Svejkovsky. It was a prospect trade that the Tampa Bay Lightning executed on the last day of June with the Pittsburgh Penguins trading Bennett MacArthur, an undrafted free agent, a year to the senior of Lucas Svejkovsky, who was a fourth-round pick by the Panthers in 2020. And anyone who was drafted in 2020 just has to be that much better than you would expect. I mean, shortened draft, shortened everything. I mean, you'd really expect the guys to be picked in 2020 as someone that were not worth wasting a pick. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are hoping to have found a diamond in the rough in Lucas Svejkovsky, who did struggle a little bit in the AHL with the Panthers over the last two seasons, but he had a dominant year in the ECHL with the Wheeling Nailers before finishing with 4 points in 19 games for Wilkes-Barre and Scranton. 30 games for Wheeling. He had 37 points, a plus or minus of +8, 16 goals and 21 assists. Goal-wise, it was his third highest total since starting in juniors back in 2013. And assist-wise, it was his third highest total as well in his pro and, semi-pro amateur circuits, according to the Tampa Bay Lightning website. And I really like Svejkovsky was born in Tampa. So that would be just a really nice story for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, he's not someone they're going to want to rush up, and that certainly is the case for all of their prospects, Connor Geekie especially, but this isn't going to be one of the episodes where I just talk about how good I think he's going to be, because there are other players that could be that good. But Tampa Bay Lightning making just a prospect swap, maybe to just shore up some positions, but it gives a guy who is younger than the man they traded and has already shown more success than Bennett MacArthur has in the minor league and other pro ranks. So Lucas Svejkovsky is someone that I'm going to be keeping an eye on, and I really expected him to be putting up, I guess, a better fight for the Lightning in terms of getting one of their top spots, one of their spots on the opening day lineup. But again, part of that is just the extreme offensive depth that the Tampa Bay Lightning have. It really seems like they found their defensive guys with the bare minimum of 6 playing every minute against Florida. And we'll take another name was Gabriel Sturck, who was someone who really popped up on my radar at the rookie camps and the prospect camps that the Lightning had earlier in September. He was someone that Lightning coaches especially were really high on, a guy who had that high energy that John Cooper was really looking for. And it really paid off. He was able to get involved in a couple of goals so far in the preseason. And he's someone else, I think, that could make an appearance. Again, these guys, I don't know if they're going to spend a whole lot of time up with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the regular season, but Svejkovsky, I think, is number one on the list of guys that I think are going to get called up. With the way Jaden DeRoe has played offensively, especially in the preseason, I'd really like to see him get a call up at some point this season. And Nico Huhtinen and Lucas Edmonds are other guys to look at, as is Dylan Duke. But I think Lucas Svejkovsky and Gabriel Sturck will be the first players from the crunch this season to get back to the Tampa Bay Lightning. And hopefully it won't be because of injuries, but those Sturck and Svejkovsky are two guys that I would keep my eye on the Syracuse crunch as they get ready to start their season. And once the Tampa Bay Lightning inevitably have to make roster moves, that is going to happen over the course of any NHL season. Offensively, there is a lot of exciting prospects for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Defensively, I think those are still coming. I think maybe some of the younger guys are still kind of developing defensively, but you have a guy like Victor Hedman, it's going to make that development a piece of cake, I think, in a lot of ways, once they get up to the NHL. And that is something that we might have to talk about later this week, particularly involving J.J. Moser. I will be at the game tonight, so if you are there, make sure to reach out on our Twitter account at LO Lightning to just message me, come say hi, give me all your thoughts on the team, and I'll have some detailed coverage of the Lightning Amalie Arena battle against the Florida Panthers coming on our social media channels later tonight and on the episode on Thursday. But until then, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Lightning. My name is Josh Sperber. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Locked On Lightning and making us your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, make sure to find Locked On NHL, where local experts keep you updated on all the biggest storylines daily ahead of the NHL season. You can find Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, you might as well follow, subscribe, like, download Locked On Lightning episodes. We really appreciate the support and certainly are ready to keep rocking with you guys over the course of the upcoming season. But I got to get ready for a big game. And thank you all once again for tuning in. Go Bolts.